The first question that we're asking almost all the races is this. We all start with the person furthest to my left. Somewhat easier of a question for you. Well, it's an easy question for both of you, quite honestly. Why have you decided to run for this race at this point in time? And obviously, Ellen, we will give you a chance to answer after Susan.
Okay, thank you. I love what I do, number one. I've been in my district for over 40-some years. There's great work going on. I want to continue that work. We've worked on safety. We've worked on signals and lights and bus stops. We've worked on futuristic planning of businesses. So the small business owner is extremely important. Having, for the past 25 years, being a business owner, when the downturn came, I understood those dynamics. So I want to continue that work. Good continuity. I promise stability, integrity, honesty with results, and that's what I've done.
Thank you, Susan. Ellen.
I'm running basically to basically be a different voice, different Democrat voice in the district. I also want to establish more safety measures in the district, and basically just have more public input and communication. If elected to have more meetings and town meetings.
Okay. Ellen, regarding what you've seen as to how the county commission has operated in the recent past, assuming you are elected, what is one of the first things that you're going to try and change to improve the commission as a whole? And obviously, Susan, you'll have a chance to answer, of course, as well.
The main thing that I see is that I know public comment is short and usually limited in space, and I'd rather people that are not able to make the meeting be able to voice their concerns, so to establish a internet type of communication so that they could also send in comment.
Are you saying live time, like Skyping, or?
No, it'd be more like a web internet forum that they could address certain issues. So at least they'll be part of the public comment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so remotely tape something.
Yeah,
and be able to
or by
send it in.
Yeah, or by the website you bring up a form and you can submit your comment.
Okay.
And usually, and sometimes if you've ever been in a situation that you have something committed but there's an issue that's in front of the commission you want to comment on, you just like, what do I do now? So that's basically to have that type of form.
Okay. Susan, what improvement do you want to see?
I'd like to have progressiveness in regards to UMC Hospital is very important. We need to make sure that becomes and stays viable. We need to make sure Metro has the right amount of officers on the street without going back to the citizens on the tax base. So that fiduciary responsibility that we're doing what we can fiscally, continue that, because we are working on it. But I think that we need to work harder on the UMC. We need a medical school here. I'd like to see that endeavor come about. Clark County is the state, pretty much, and so the medical school is very important. We're on the grassroots of getting that to move forward. That's very, very important. I'd like to see those results. So those are some positive situations that we continue to work on, and I'd like to continue it.
I'll write down the words in favor of med school. That's a question we've been asking many of the assembly people who would potentially encounter it more, but obviously with UMC you have a direct need as well.
Yes.
You see it. And I'm sorry, I don't want to take over the questioning. If somebody else wants to jump in, please feel free.
Go ahead, you're doing a good job, John.
I can be a little stifling. Next question is this, Susan. We've seen a lot of regulation changes. Well, I don't want to say a lot, but significant changes have occurred on the Strip with respect to people selling or receiving quote-unquote donations for water or having animals on the Strip. Regarding the Strip itself, what changes or improvements do you want to see occur over the next term, assuming you're re-elected, in order to maximize the tourism dollars that come into Clark County and derivatively Nevada itself?
I think that what's very important is the safety and cleanliness of the Strip. People want to know when they walk there, they don't have to walk in and around and into the street. So keeping that sidewalk very clear that we're working on. We did that study to make sure that safety, that we have enough, whether it's Metro or the cadets that could go out there, and that people know that when they're walking along there, they can just walk along without having to wonder if they have to be concerned about anything. And that's very, very important. The right kind of lighting, the right type of mobile access, meaning that someone in a motorized scooter or a wheelchair doesn't have to have any issues with traveling up and down the strip. So we've been looking at that. I think it's ultimately important to continue that, to not have clutter, not have handbills on the ground, and to make sure legally that we're able to do that, because it's very, very challenging that you have to make sure you don't take away anybody's rights of freedom, and I agree with that, but to make sure that they're being responsible to that cleanliness, and making sure that some of the buildings along that strip corridor, the ones that were getting wrapped, and then when we have the new Resort World, having what they're doing with the fencing, that it looks better, keeping that pristine, safe, clean message out there that it's a great place to come, a great place to stay, and you can leave in a safe manner. So I think that's really
What
important.
about the smut distributors?
Well-
What can be done about that?
We've worked really hard on that, and that's why we've designated ways that they have to pick up their own trash, that they have to be, the First Amendment rights are really, really challenging. And so we've looked at that very carefully. It can't be our own personal issue, because none of us really like to have that out there in front of us. We have young children that walk the strip with their parents, and they've learned that when it's on the ground, they can look down. So we've been very, very diligent in attempting to work with the ACLU, because they come out against it, to make sure that we meet the needs and the rights of citizens, whether we're for it or not, but we still have to maintain discretion legally, and the legal aspect of it is very challenging. But it's something that I would tell you all 7 commissioners, because they've said it verbally, because of the rules and laws out there, are committed to keeping that safe, clean, and well-designed so people can feel comfortable with their 5-year-old or their 15-year-old or whoever's there. The new magazine racks, when we get that accomplished, I think you'll see a very, very big change. It's very positive, because it's going to be that it would be slanted. They can't send a cup on top of it. They have to open it up. It's more discreet. So if it is some of the literature that some of us feel is inappropriate but legal, that we'd be able to have it be in a very, very well-used manner on the strip.
But they remain, right?
Well,
They do remain.
it went, just so you know, Kate, it went before the Nevada Supreme
Right.
Court. And it's a free speech issue. It is constitutionally impermissible to stop people from doing that.
Right.
But there needs to be, they can curb
Some
if
kind
there's...
of containment.
Correct. Yeah, there are certain litter needs to be dealt with. You cannot impinge upon other people's use of the public areas, but there's that pesky Constitution gets in the way sometimes. So,
But we've worked really well on it. I'm happy with where we're going.
Ellen, what improvements do you want to see on the Strip, again, to maximize the tourism and the comfort that the tourists do have?
I think as a whole, everybody, like they say, everybody has a right to be on the strip, but I find it interesting that some people equate the strip with Sunset Boulevard in LA, and it depends on where these performers are performing, how aggressive they are, and maybe that would be another issue that would have to be addressed, is whether or not they're, if decorum can ever be legislative or good taste, or at least politeness, would probably be more apt to it, because you can never stop anybody from having any type of free speech, but you can at least limit harassing behavior from a performer. If that includes, them having to apply for a permit to perform on the strip, and so that they can at least give that to the, to patrol or to the people, that the security up from the casino itself, that they know, I've been vetted, or at least on paper I've been vetted, and they know I'm here.
I was driving home on the Strip last night, and right at the foot of the escalator in front of Bally's at Flamingo, there was a guy on a full drum set, just wailing away at, 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. And I hadn't seen that before. I'd seen the Showgirls and all the various, the Transformers and Darth Vader, but literally just a guy at the foot of the escalator just Yeah, he was pretty good. I'll say that much for him. But is that the kind of, I don't want to say public nuisance because that's a legal term, but is that the kind of thing you're looking to potentially curb, or is it more the?
It's just that there have been reports of people being harassed.
Okay.
You know, for getting, you know, taking a picture and then they say, oh, we need a little more donation than that. So that's very interesting. That's a very interesting tactic to say, oh, this is a selfie, but no, I want payment. So I know it's a fine line, and that would be. I'm glad that they're negotiating the containment of the literature that gets passed around. It's just unfortunately when it gets old and creaky, the doors fall forward and don't stay closed, and it's a little bit hazardous. But I think that'll be an issue that's got to be addressed. But as a whole, it's just baby steps to get to a point where it's nice and civil to walk down the strip.
Both of you had made reference to safety, and derivatively that kind of leads to the Metropolitan Police Department. There's been some, shall we say, tension between some of the commissioners and some aspects of Metro. What ideas do you have, Ellen, and obviously we'll have a chance, what ideas do you have to, I don't want to say mend fences, but to repair that relationship between two of the more important governmental agencies within Clark County itself?
It might seem adversarial, but I don't really believe so. Everybody has the safety of the community in mind. It's just to be a little bit more transparent. I think it would be more advantageous that the sheriff be more forward with the commissioners, and the commissioners be more detailed a little bit on what they want to see from the sheriff. When I did answer the RJ questionnaire, and I just basically said is that if I know there's a reason why the more cops tax didn't pass, but is that if you can quantify one enforcement officer would decrease the crime rate, either civil or criminal, how much would that be? Then I think as it equates to the formula, however they want to negotiate it, I think that would probably settle, a lot of the other issues surrounding how effective they're using their budget. Being a bureaucratic, unfortunately, a bureaucratic fund, all the funds that are allocated to the Metro are allocated, and they have to have permission to transfer funds over. So if that's what the sheriff needs to do, he needs to quantify that to the commissioners. And I think that's only fair that is commissioners and the city of Las Vegas, because Metro is funded by both.
Susan.
I thought it was interesting conversations throughout that. I ended up being the swing vote for a while there, and did work with the sheriff very wholeheartedly on, as much as you don't like tax increases, safety is number one. We have to absolutely be safe, not only for our citizens, but we do have 40 million visitors. Citizens first, 40 million visitors second, but it all goes hand in hand. And in doing that, when we could not get to a total conclusion on what funding are you willing to do, will you do 15 million, will you do 30 million out of the 160 million or so that he had, and we couldn't quite get those numbers to where they needed to be for me. So the first vote, of course, we all know failed. The second vote failed. He came back again with another proposal, decided he only wanted the 15%. I had questions that I asked, very, very succinct. What monies? How would you do it? The question was called for, and because my questions could not be answered, I voted no. And I felt like it was more important. You can't just vote for voting's sake. But then we had our budget meeting, and what's exciting is the sheriff looked at his budget. He's willing to spend $30 million, I believe the number is pretty correct, to take down from the More Cops fund that he has to hire 100 officers. We also looked at our budget. We're able to fund him to where those 100 officers would be new officers. So ultimately, it's the end result of what you do and how you get there, that we do have more officers. We will have more on the street. He's doing 2 classes now, and so when that happens, we will see more. So we were safe 3 months ago, we're safe today, and we'll be safe tomorrow. And I think it'll be great when we have more officers there, and then he needs to decide how he utilizes them best. You know, we have some ideas that we think are a little bit different than his. I respect he's a sheriff, and we'll see how this turns out so that we can either allocate more, come back to the more cops issue in 15, because that's when we would come back with a new sheriff, and then we would reevaluate the system, how it can work, how do we best benefit the citizens. So it actually turned out well with more officers coming on the street without a tax increase.
Sorry.
No, please.
So these are real officers, not cadets?
These
The
are
100.
these will be real officers.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. But that when you mention the word cadets, if I can expound just a little bit, is that I think he is going to accidents. Not all, but a good majority. I think, and I was on a radio show this morning and mentioned I thought we could use the cadets, and he said, funny you say that, the sheriff was on yesterday, which I didn't hear the show, and said that that would be a good utilization of our cadets to be able to go to the non-injuried accidents to help people fill out their forms. So I was excited to know that he was thinking the same way I was thinking.
Great minds. Ellen, what have you heard when you're canvassing the your area and walking this particular seat or district? What have you heard from potential constituents regarding the issue of police not responding to non-injury accidents?
I mean, personally, I don't like that policy because that means that there's not an impartial person that says that can write down what happened or what he or she as the officer observed at the accident. Is that it's your word against your insurance company versus their insurance company. So it's the battle of the insurance companies. I know they haven't answered calls on private property. So this is just expanding to public roadways. I just feel it's going to raise our insurance premiums. I hope not, but I hope he reconsiders. At least if it's not a regular officer, it would be either the reserve or the cadets that would come out, because you need at least a third-party observer, and so that's personally, but I haven't heard anything else personally.
Mike, we're right on our time frame, so I know you always have one or two at the end. We always go over time, so I'm just looking ahead
it's
now.
not over time, it's still have the finance.
Yeah.
In the paper they recently read the UMC is going to have almost 100 million shortfall in the budget.
About 70.
Yeah. It said 100 million, I read a few days ago. And so how long we going to keep on subsidizing UMC, for the last few years from the county budget,
Yeah, what's exciting about UMC is it's next to none in trauma and orthopedic, and you absolutely need it. The other issues are the burn center is absolutely imperative. It's the only one in the whole state. So we now have a new committee or group of gentlemen, ladies and men that are working on that issue, because we said we need to get it down. If we could get it to manageable, 30, 40 million, but because it is a county hospital and it is totally the county's responsibility, even though we have said we feel like all the municipalities, because we did a study on who goes there, need to participate, either the state or the other municipalities. So we feel like we can get that number down. The Medicaid is not caught up, so part of that was a $25 million loan. And we feel they're saying that they will pay that back. And they just said that the other day in our budget meeting, which is very important to us. And so once Medicaid catches up and where we see where this Obamacare goes, that anyone could treat any of the indigent care, which should make a difference. And then there's some other suggestions that I'm really favorable of, is I think we need a quick care in the hospital. And so we can still give suggestions, and the reason is you would keep your same number, but then if you just stubbed your toe or had a cold, which is important, then you would go into the quick care, and the emergency would be for viable emergencies. So it's something, and I think we need to utilize our quick cares outside in the valley to be maybe opened a little bit longer. So we're looking at a lot of new options that could bring in revenue, but with the Obamacare and the orthopedic, you should have three things. Ortho and trauma go together, and then heart and cath lab is incredible there. And so if they work on what they can do best, you can bring in and draw those doctors, and I go out and speak to doctors. Tell me what would take you to UMC. And so if we just keep doing that and we change the complexity, remember for years we had no other hospital in the Southwest, then we got 4. And so that's a battle. And you have to meet that battle. Why would the Southwest people at Southern Highlands or Mountain's Edge drive past 4 hospitals to UMC? And the reason they would is because you get the best care. And so I would challenge anyone with that on the best care, knowing that we need to work on that. We've done a better job than's happened in the past, and we need to keep moving futuristically. And if it could be a teaching learning hospital, that would also draw in a different clientele of payers to where you would be able to cut that back. So great, I appreciate that question.
See, the Valley Hospital is building a hospital in Henderson, the 5th one, right? The president, she's
Right.
a good friend of mine, Carla Perez.
Right.
The other thing, you said the board, it was chosen by the commissioners. I don't know if you know, there's 250,000 Asians in Las Vegas, 250,000. How come there's no Asian on the board?
Well, wait a minute. Ellen
Yeah,
answered that first, just to balance things out.
Okay, go ahead.
We didn't pick the board, but go ahead, I'll tell you that in a minute.
It was a committee, but the committee,
Well,
go ahead, let us finish here.
okay,
Go.
basically, I'm in favor wholeheartedly in trying to, make UMC profitable. It is going to be a growing model because of the implementation of the Affordable Care Act. And I do appreciate his honesty, like the CEO of UMC says, is that at one point you have to stop and figure out, okay, how do I make money now? And it's because he's come from a system a hospital that had to make money. So I applaud him to try to establish new systems in UMC. As a whole, though, it has to be countywide. UMC has to also communicate. If that has to be from the commission level, all the hospitals have to communicate together and see what to do with the indigent population that's not able to pay. You're not gonna send them away because they're sick and hurt in your ER. So what's the other alternatives?
Can I continue?
I can answer that.
Yeah, see, and the other thing is, the county has boards, different boards, and there's 7 commissioners. I talked to Sisolak about it, a friend of mine. We hardly get any Asians appointed, at the county level, because you know why? The governor, Brian Sandoval, I talked to him, I know him for long. He has given us almost about 20-25 appointments in the last 3-4 years. The county doesn't give us none.
You know what, and I'm happy to, why I would look at that is whoever calls my office, and when I investigate, I'm more than happy. If somebody wants a position on one of the committees or the town boards, I have not seen anyone come forward, but that's not something I'm...
Yeah, see, but they don't even know. If you send me, these are the listing of the boards and what we're opening, I'll get you because I represent all the Asian community up here.
Absolutely.
I get you a
That
whole
would be
bunch of
something
people.
that I think would
If
be-
people ask me, we're 250,000, we don't get respect.
Oh, I think you have the
everybody
respect. I
No.
would disagree. I think
No, but
respect-
honestly, you know what? Because this few years ago, the Democratic Party held a big thing at Cashman Field. They invited the Hispanics, African, they forgot the Asians. And I
That's
talked to,
ridiculous.
yeah. And I chewed up the John Hunt that time. I said, what do you think, we're 250,000, you don't think? We give most of the money.
Right.
I can give you a list of all the money we donate.
Right.
We give lots of money.
No,
but
and
we have no
I would-
respect.
And I would tell you that I think that is very important, and I actually work with a lot of Asian groups in my neighborhood, outside of my neighborhood, all along the corridor, so I'm not certain why someone's not been appointed. I'll answer you honestly, but I think that that would be a viable situation, and I think that there's a Spring Valley Town Board, there's an Enterprise Town Board. My rurals, I don't know if I have anyone living out in the rurals, but I think that's something that would be easy to do. I really do.
Okay. And the
And
other
I
thing
think
is,
you know I feel that way.
yeah, the other thing is, 1 second, John, let me,
No, okay.
this
I'll let
time
you
is, I know time. Medical marijuana, I think you got the hearing coming by in June sometime?
June 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Yeah, but most of the people, what we read in the newspaper, all the corporate people have applied. This is some big law firms, they're all involved in this stuff. And regular people, there are few regular people that have called me, Mike, do we have a chance? I said, I don't know about that. Some got 5 things, some got 10 applications, and they said they're going to distribute all over the counties, all the commissioners get a fair, shake. Yeah, I like that idea. But even some of the people who cannot hire top lawyers and pay 120,000, there are a few people who are regular people, doctors, good, they think, they call me, Mike, do we have a chance? I said, I do not know. I'm going to talk to the commissioner, I'm going to interview 3 of them. So that's
Only
what I'm
also, and
asking.
I'll speak to it here for a moment, is that I have already listened to 50 or 60 people, and I have about 12 more meetings to go. I have a total schematics, and mine is not about who I see every day, who comes in there every week, who's there at every commission meeting. It's going to be geographically based with the best people that have the best teams. I ask about education, I ask about scholarship programs. How do you feel about the medically fragile that cannot get the medicine they need? What doctors? So to me, it's very broad scope, very analytical, and very open-minded. I said in the meeting I would not make one decision till we've heard from everyone, doing dispensaries first, then doing the vertical aspect of it. This is very important. This is about the medical and fragile. We cannot just do this in a vacuum. So I have been online, in calls, meeting with people, and I will continue doing
It's
that.
not about you, but it's about the other. because
I
the-
mean all people.
Yeah, but the RGA, the way the RGA wrote a couple pages article, you know what? Hey, people say this is all everything.
Mike, when do you believe the
done-
RGA?
You know what? Sometimes they do.
Well, it's written on the internet, so it's got to be true. Come on now.
Right.
Anyway, you know what? I'd like to thank
But-
you.
yeah,
I'd like to
well,
thank you for one just thank you
really quick.
for the Desert Breeze Park. Great job. I live down the street from there.
I know you do.
On Turin there, so I want to thank you for that.
Dutch
It's a
Valley.
Great job.
More
Yeah, that's
parks.
right. Yeah.
So Ellen,
Thank
if you become commissioner, you have big shoes to fill with
Yeah, and
respect to
I also-
Desert Breeze Park.
Yeah. Also, I just wanted to let you know, I'm on the Citizen Review Board, so, and I am Asian, so.
I was on that, but I just quit.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
slide it in, but as a
I wasn't on
whole,
that.
yeah,
Perfect.
so.
Well, again, we're right up at our time, and I think we actually went a little over because
28.
Mike took over, but that's okay. But thank you
He's
again.
passionate.
He is.
Yes.
Thank you again for coming out this evening.